Good morning, Aida. Thank you very much for your time, and we are very pleased to welcome you to this interview. As you know, the rapid rise of AI and new technologies has sparked concerns among workers, particularly young people just starting their careers, who may see these changes as a threat. What message of hope and resilience would you give them?
A message for hope for the youth is translated into a message of accountability and critical thinking. The youth needs to understand, and I think that they already do, that technology is not just devices and images, but they are socio-technical systems, that they interact with the youth, at the school, with the teachers, at home. They're always mediating how we live, how we work, how we study. They do have it intrinsically in their DNA, but they do have to also understand that their capacity to understand these socio-technical systems and question them, it's really important for them to be really agents in innovation and progress in society.
With your expertise in emerging technologies and regulatory frameworks, what do you see as the most pressing challenges that workers will face as AI and big data reshape workplaces, particularly in terms of privacy, data protection, and job security?
In terms of data protection and privacy, the major trend that I have observed is that the right to monitor the workforce is being translated into a right to surveil, which I think that they are very different concepts. Monitoring is not the same as surveillance, and this is what I have been researching in my work. Surveillance has been classified as an intrusive practice which extracts a lot of data in a very granular manner with metrics that are not really understood. We don't know what is extracted, we don't know what is measured, and on top of that, that granularity not only measures and collects data from the external environment or from the interactions of the workers in a workplace, but also goes more deep into the dignity, into the physiology, into the emotional state. And some of these technologies have even promised to measure and collect data related to cognitive behavior, the way we speak and we say words, the tone of the voice, and whether our emotions are in one way or the other. And that is surveillance that is bypassing the capacity to monitor.
One of the challenges that unions are facing is the question of really the protection of workers and their rights. So in your view, how can trade unions ensure that workers are protected from the potential negative impact of these technologies, such as job displacement, surveillance, and also exploitation of personal data? And finally, what could be the role of unions in shaping this regulatory framework to safeguard the workers' right?
I would like to bring the work that a recent Prize Nobel in 2004 brought, which is the work on automation by Daron Acemoglu, a professor of MIT. And Daron Acemoglu argues that as long as automation doesn't change its core, automation will never benefit workers. So what I take from Daron Acemoglu as a message is that trade unions and governments and corporations also have this task to change the narrative of automation and make automation benefit directly workers instead of automation benefit profit. So this is why I think that is the core of the problem, is in changing that focal point, direct the beneficiaries of automation to workers. Then, having that, trade unions need to make a big leap. And they did so. They already have the capacity, because when we discussed the just transition, trade unions came together and were able to strategize, to invent a strategy, and to go very well with it. I think that the same needs to happen with automation or with artificial intelligence. Trade unions were very good at coming very quickly to react to the automation and AI discourse and policy. Now they have to stop for a moment, reflect, and strategize. Strategize in a way that it is an anticipatory movement of governing innovation policy. Strategize in what are those key issues that they need to negotiate within their social partner capacity, and strategize in being able to say these uses of technologies are not complying with labor law and social protection and human rights, or these uses of technologies deserve to have a wider use and benefit not only workers but perhaps society as a whole.
So my final question to you, Aída, as you know, there is a very important rendezvous this year. It is the second World Summit for Social Development to be held in Qatar. But what could be your recommendations to strengthen the role of the ILO, but also its tripartite constituents, mainly the workers, the employers' organizations, but also the government, in shaping the new social contract, but very importantly, to implement this new social contract beyond the world 2030?
Implementing the new social contract that we are going to discuss now needs to take into account the changing of the narrative of automation. Again, automation is being done to benefit certain people in society. As long as that narrative doesn't change, AI regulation and innovation policy cannot shift. Collecting agreements cannot be done. Data cannot be protected. Another issue about the social contract will be to look at really giving people the sovereignty of their data and allowing data protection laws, privacy, non-discrimination laws to work for those whose data is being extracted. The third part that I think that is very important is to look at automation and innovation from a sustainable perspective. Technologies are extractive, not only on the data of the human and the capacity of the human, but also on the planetary limits, whether it be land, biodiversity, water, and there are huge amounts of electricity needed to move automation. This needs to have a real structural reflection to modify the narrative of automation and make it more sustainable to benefit the whole of the social contract.
Thank you very much, Aída, for this time and the interview. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.